Hey, fourth graders, it is Mrs. DeHaven from Parkside. I'm here to give you your math lesson for today. We are continuing with topic 16, and today we are moving into lesson 3, which is classifying quadrilaterals. Today, your objective is that by the end of the lesson, you will be able to classify quadrilaterals by lines and angles. Today, for your warm-up, I'm going to read through this question, and then I'm going to ask you to hit pause on this video. That will give you the chance to solve the warm-up on a piece of scrapbook paper, on notebook paper, whatever you have in your house to use. And then once you're finished with the warm-up, you can check back with me, hit play on this video, and we'll compare answers. So for your warm-up today, you need to draw 3 different 4-sided shapes that have opposite sides that are parallel. And once you've done that, I want you to think about how your shapes are alike and how they are different. So again, you're drawing 3 different shapes, 3 different 4-sided shapes that have opposite sides that are parallel. So go ahead and hit play, or hit pause, and then hit play once you're finished. All right, so welcome back. Hopefully you have that warm-up finished. I'm going to share with you my answer. Before I share, remember that my answer, my shapes might not look exactly like yours, and that is okay. So here are my 3 shapes that I drew. The first one is a quadrilateral, and that quadrilateral at the top, it looks like a rectangle. It has square corners, and each of those corners measures 90 degrees. The middle quadrilateral does not have square corners, and you'll notice it looks slightly different from my first shape that I drew. And then my last shape is, again, a quadrilateral. It has 4 sides, and this one only has 1 pair of parallel sides, whereas the first 2 shapes that I drew had 2 pairs of parallel sides. So again, it's okay if your warm-up didn't look like mine, but as long as you drew 3 different 4-sided shapes that had opposite sides that were parallel, you're good to go. All right, so we are going to jump into the video for today. The video is going to introduce to you a lot of vocabulary for this lesson. If you'd like to take notes while this video is happening, you're welcome to do so. But after the video, I will recap and go over some of the terms that they talked about, so you can always take notes from there. I'll tell you what you can write in your notebook for today. But here's the video.
Quadrilaterals have properties that make them different from one another. How can you classify quadrilaterals? Think about this question during the lesson. A quadrilateral is a polygon with 4 sides. Quadrilaterals can be classified by their angles or the line segments that make their sides. Which of the quadrilaterals shown have only 1 pair of parallel sides? Which have 2 pairs of parallel sides? A parallelogram has 2 pairs of parallel sides. This quadrilateral is a rectangle. What type of angle does a rectangle have? Select your answer.
So for that rectangle, I see square corners, and those corners measure 90 degrees, and I know that 90 degrees are right angles.
A rectangle has 4 right angles. Why can a rectangle also be called a parallelogram? A rectangle is also a parallelogram because it has 2 pairs of parallel sides. A square has 4 right angles and all sides are the same length. Why can a square also be called a parallelogram? A square is also a parallelogram because it has 2 pairs of parallel sides. Why can a square also be named a rectangle? A square is also a rectangle because it has 4 right angles. A rhombus is a quadrilateral that has opposite sides that are parallel, and all of its sides are the same length. A square is also a rhombus because it is a quadrilateral with opposite sides that are parallel, and all of its sides are the same length. A rhombus is also a parallelogram because it has 2 pairs of parallel sides. This quadrilateral is a trapezoid. A trapezoid is a quadrilateral with only one pair of parallel sides. Parallelograms, rectangles, squares, and rhombuses all have two pairs of parallel sides. Now you know how to classify quadrilaterals.
All right, so I'm going to go back to my presentation and I'm going to share with you some of the vocabulary from today. So again, up here at the top, I have that a quadrilateral is a polygon with four sides. You might notice that the root part of quadrilateral is quad, and quad means four typically. Quadrilaterals can be classified by their angles or their line segments that make their sides. I'm going to move this. And then this is what these pictures should look familiar to you. They are from the video. These might be good to draw at the top of your notebook page that you're working on today so that you have a reminder of what each one looks like. If you'd like to hit pause while you do that, you're welcome to do so. So the first one is a parallelogram, and a parallelogram has two pairs of parallel sides. So you'll notice here that the top and the bottom are parallel, and then the left side is parallel to the right side. So that would be two pairs of parallel sides. The middle shape is a rectangle, and rectangles have four right angles, and those angles all measure 90 degrees. And then a rectangle is also a parallelogram because the definition of a parallelogram is that it has two pairs of parallel sides. Well, in a rectangle, the top and the bottom are parallel, and the left and the right are parallel. So that makes it a parallelogram. Last for this slide, we have a square. And a square, just like a rectangle, has four right angles, okay, in each of the corners. They measure 90 degrees. Now, the difference with a square is that all of the sides are equal. They're all the same length, unlike the rectangle, whose sides are not all the same length. A square is also a parallelogram. It is also a rectangle, and it is also a rhombus. Here's a few more for you from the video. So next we had a trapezoid, and trapezoid again is a quadrilateral because it is a four-sided polygon. However, a trapezoid only has one pair of parallel sides, meaning the top and the bottom in this case are parallel. The sides are not parallel. And then last we had a rhombus. A rhombus is a quadrilateral that has opposite sides that are parallel, and then all of its sides are the same length. And this is also a parallelogram. So we're going to look at another example. Perpendicular sides form right angles, and we learned that earlier in topic 16. So the question is, can a trapezoid have perpendicular sides? You just learned that a trapezoid has one pair of parallel sides. So let's see. If you look at the picture, it says a trapezoid can have two right angles, which you'll see right here, that form perpendicular sides. A trapezoid with two right angles is called a right trapezoid. So here's another example of what a different trapezoid could look like. All right, we're going to try a few together. So number one says, what is true about all quadrilaterals? Well, the definition of a quadrilateral is that it is a four-sided polygon. So all quadrilaterals have four sides, and then they also have four angles. Four sides and four angles. Number two says, what is the difference between a square and a rhombus? Well, a square always has four right angles, and a rhombus doesn't always have four right angles. Okay, they both have equal sides. They both are parallelograms. But the difference between a square and a rhombus is that a square always has four 90-degree angles. The next one, Shane drew a quadrilateral. This is number three. Shane drew a quadrilateral with at least two right angles and at least one pair of parallel sides. Name three quadrilaterals that Shane could have drawn. Okay, so he has at least two right angles, so he could have more, and at least one pair of parallel sides. So he could have drawn a rectangle because a rectangle has at least two right angles. and it also has at least one pair of parallel sides. He could have drawn a square because a square has at least 2 right angles and at least one pair of parallel sides. He also could have drawn a trapezoid because, as you saw in the previous slide, you could have a right trapezoid where there would be right angles and then it would have at least one pair of parallel sides. All right, for numbers 4 through 7, you have to write the names for all of the names possible for each quadrilateral. So some of these shapes are going to have multiple names that we can give them. So for example, number 4, I always like to start with the biggest. I know that number 4 is a quadrilateral. Next, looking at its sides and the number of parallel sides, I see 2 pairs of parallel sides. So I know then that number 4 is also a parallelogram. And then last, looking at the length of the sides, I know that that is also a rectangle. So for number 4, there are 3 different names that we can call it. We can call it a quadrilateral, a parallelogram, and a rectangle. You must have all 3 of those answers written because it says to name all of the names for it. For number 5, again, number 5 is going to be a quadrilateral. It has 4 sides. Looking at its parallel sides, I see that it has 2 pairs of parallel sides. So number 5 is also going to be a parallelogram. And then there are no other names for number 5. For number 6 has a lot of different names that we can call it. I'm going to start off with the biggest, which again is, because it has 4 sides, it is a quadrilateral. Looking at the number of parallel sides, I see 2 pairs of parallel sides, so I'm going to call that a parallelogram. I'm also going to call that a rectangle because it has 2 pairs of parallel sides and it has 90-degree angles. I'm also going to call that a square because a square is a type of rectangle and it has equal sides, and I see that all of those sides are equal. And then last, it is also a rhombus. So again, for number 6, we have 5 different names that it could go by: quadrilateral, parallelogram, rectangle, square, and rhombus. All right, for number 7, the last one that we're going to do together. Number 7, I see that there are 4 sides, so that again will be a quadrilateral. Next, I'm going to look for parallel sides. I don't see any parallel sides, so I can't call that a parallelogram, and I can't call that a trapezoid either. I don't see 4 right angles, so it can't be a rectangle or a square. I don't see equal sides, so the only name for number 7 is that it is a quadrilateral because it is a 4-sided polygon. So, what are you going to do next? You have some required tasks, and then you also have some optional tasks. So for required, if you're ready to move on to the independent practice, you're welcome to do so. It is linked in the main page for you. You'll be working on pages 595 and 596, doing numbers 8 through 15. Once you complete that, you are doing the quick check. For optional work, if you need a little bit more of a review for this, you can rewatch my video. You can check out the pages that are attached to the independent practice. It will review some of the key vocabulary. You could look at 16-3, the reteach page. You can also look at 16-3, math literacy. If you're up for a challenge, feel free to check out the enrichment page, where you're also welcome to check out any of the early finishers that your teacher might typically assign for math, like SME, IXL, or Khan Academy for some more practice. So good luck classifying quadrilaterals today, and I will see you later. Have a great day.